again, everyone. What's going on? And welcome back to another edition of SAT Sports with yours truly, Marcus. How's everyone doing tonight? It's been a while. I needed to get a show done this week. I got quite a bit to talk about. Excuse the mess in the background. I need to clean that up, but we're not here to talk about no mess. We'll talk about some type of mess in the sports world in a bit, but our main focus tonight, we're gonna recap like first round of the Stanley Cup and NBA playoffs. We're moving now to the conference semifinals on both sides. I know they're going on as of right now. We're also going to be talking the downfall of one league, the rise of another league we never really mentioned from the get-go. I wish we would have did from the beginning. We're also going to be talking some recaps and predictions from other leagues and whatnot. So, let's start with the NBA playoffs first. I know right now we are now in semifinal conferences, the East and West semifinals. So we'll go to the Western Conference first. Start with the New Orleans Pelicans. I mean, shit. They got swept. They got swept in 4 games against the Oklahoma City Thunder, which was a big disappointment to all of us. And I don't know what the future is going to hold for this team. I don't see them getting any better. It's like every time we just get that close to momentum, they just choke and fall, especially in the playoffs. At least Zion Williamson completed a full season, but he was not able to compete in the postseason. So that kind of ruined it a bit. So we got swept by the Oklahoma City Thunder, who is the number 1 team in the West. They moved on. And also we got the Mavericks, the Dallas Mavericks moving on, winning in Game 6. They win the series 4-2 over the LA Clippers. The Minnesota Timberwolves sweeping the Phoenix Suns. So they were the first team to get swept. Thank God it wasn't the Pelicans, but we did get swept, and it's nothing to be proud about. The defending champs, the Denver Nuggets, take out the LA Lakers in 5 games. They win 4-1 in that one. The Eastern Conference, this one was a good challenge for all the teams. The Boston Celtics win the series over the Chicago Bulls in 5 games. This one went to 7. What a series this was. The Cleveland Cavaliers advancing, defeating the Orlando Magic in 7 games. Bucks Pacers, this went to 6 games, and it went to the Indiana Pacers. And then finally, a good rivalry series here between the New York Knicks and the Philadelphia 76ers. Knicks advance in 6 games, moving on to the conference semifinals. So as of right now, we do have a series going on right now. I know currently we got Game 2 between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Dallas Mavericks. Oklahoma City took the first game and then a blowout victory over the Mavericks. It's a tight one right here, but I kind of want to see, as much as I despise the Dallas Mavericks, I wouldn't mind seeing them go to the Western Conference Finals because I feel like the West could potentially be open, if you know what I mean, when I get to another series going on. And we got some comments already. What's going on, Justin? Check out the In Time Wrestling Podcast. What's going on, Jordan, tuning in as well. Minnesota Timberwolves and the Denver Nuggets already played 2 games. The Timberwolves have already up 2-0 over the defending NBA champs. We could possibly see a sweep here. I kind of want to see it now. That's one team you don't want to sleep on right now in the NBA playoffs is the Minnesota Timberwolves. So keep your eye on them. So if I had to pick a prediction for the Western Conference Finals, I'm going to have to go with the Dallas Mavericks against the Minnesota Timberwolves. For the Eastern Conference right now, this one is Celtics Cavs. It's already tied 1-1. They play again Saturday at 7:30. I actually had the Celtics winning it all this year. I got them winning this series. I have them probably going 6 games. You know, Cleveland did get a win. This could be a good series for them, but I got the Celtics winning this in 6 games. And then finally, Pacers and the Knicks. The Knicks are already up 2-0 against the Pacers. They need 2 more wins. We could see a sweep, but I'm going to give the Pacers at least 1 win here. I'm going to give the Knicks winning it in 5 games. We get a little Boston-New York rivalry in the Eastern Conference Finals between the Celtics and the Knicks. Now, who I have going to the NBA Finals? Well, I said at the start, we were going to get a rematch between the Nuggets and the Celtics. Don't look like we're going to get that. I have the Celtics going either way because I got the Celtics winning it all. They're going to win the East. The West, since I got the Timberwolves and the Mavericks moving on, I don't think the Timberwolves ever went to the finals. So I kind of want to see something different there. What's going on, Dylan? Tuning in. So give me my Western Conference final prediction: Mavericks, Timberwolves. Timberwolves win the West and take on the Celtics in the NBA Finals. All right, let's go to the Stanley Cup Finals. The Stanley Cup Playoffs, real quick. Let's go back to the first round. My Vegas Golden Knights, no longer defending champs. They fell to the Dallas Stars in 7 games. It upsetted me. Dallas moves on. They're taking on the Colorado Avalanche, who won in 5 games against the Winnipeg Jets. I'm wearing it for a cause when I get to my rant when we get to that AFL Toffs, because you want to be sure to tune in for that. So the Avalanche wins it in 5 games. They're taking on the Dallas Stars right now in this series. In game 2, which I think the Avalanche took game 1. I'm going to have to go back and look at all this. So they played on Tuesday, May the 7th. Avalanche did take game 1. They went into overtime. That's right. Stars were up 3-0, and the Avalanche came back in overtime and beat them 4-3. So we got that going on. We also got the Vancouver Canucks, who beat the Predators in 6 games. They move on. They're taking on another Canadian team in the Edmonton Oilers, who beat the Kings in 5 games. Meanwhile, in the Eastern Conference, I figured this was going to go 7 games because it's a rivalry, but Panthers take the Lightning down in 5 games. They move on. They're taking on the Boston Bruins, who took down the Maple Leafs in 7 games. This was the 3rd time I don't know if you want to call them a rivalry, but there were the last 3 times the Bruins and the Maple Leafs crossed paths in the playoffs. It went to 7 games, and Boston took the win on all 3. I got more to say on them 2 going at it. Then we got the Rangers and the Capitals. The Rangers swept the Capitals 4 games. They moved on to the semifinals. They're taking on the Carolina Hurricanes, who beat the Islanders in 5 games. So meanwhile, we look at the second round. Stars, Avalanche. The Avalanche are already up 1-0. I could see this potentially going 6 or 7 games. As much as I hate the Dallas Stars, I'd like to see the Avalanche try and get back to the Stanley Cup Finals, try and win their, I think it's their 3rd or 4th Stanley Cup. They won the title in 2022. Let them go win another one. Who they're going to take on in the Western Conference Finals, I think they're going to take on the Vancouver Canucks. I got the Canucks beating the Oilers. They're going to play game 2 tomorrow night, and I think Vancouver did take the first game. Go back to yesterday, they won 5-4. So they're not, I don't consider them, I don't know if they're a rivalry or not, but it could be a good series. It's number 1 versus number 2 here. So I'm going to say the Canucks win it probably in 5 or 6 games. I'll see that. Eastern Conference Finals, we got game 3 between the Panthers and the Bruins. The series is already tied 1-1. That first, I think it was the first game when these two played each other, the Panthers decimated the Bruins the other night. Or it might have been game 2. So game 1, the Bruins took the win 5-1. When they had their second meeting, Panthers won the game 6-1. But it was game 1 where they had those massive fights. They had over 152 penalty minutes between both teams combined. They said that was some kind of a record, but them two brawled it out. This has been a fun series to watch. I did take the Bruins winning this one, but I would not be surprised if the Florida Panthers pull an upset. I wouldn't even call it an upset. They're the number 1 seed on this side of the bracket. They might go back to an Eastern Conference final. On the other side, the New York Rangers have been dominating the series. They're 1 game away from sweeping the Carolina Hurricanes, just like they swept the Capitals. So for the Eastern Conference Finals, I did predict another Boston-New York series. I said the Boston Bruins would take on the New York Rangers. The way the Rangers have been playing, I could see the Rangers taking the East. I'm going to have to go with the Rangers and the Canucks in the Stanley Cup Finals. I would love to see that. New York is not the most loved team right now. Vancouver hasn't never won a Stanley Cup, so that would be nice to see a team finally win one for the first time. But if the Rangers make it, that's a tough team. They haven't even lost in postseason already yet. So that's going to be tricky to see. We'll get to all that. I'm going to jump to Major League Baseball real quick. I don't have much to say except finally that the damn Astros beat the Yankees. The final time they're going to play possibly this season. Because I don't see the Astros going to the postseason the way they've been playing. So it was nice to end that stretch of 2024, finally beating them at the last time. They've never officially swept us completely. They swept us in the first series on opening weekend in our home, but we went to their home in a 3-game series. We didn't win the series, but we did win the final game, and I don't think we got to deal with the Yankees again until 2025. But standings right now, I know overall in the league, it's kind of shocking to see the Phillies back number 1 overall, then followed behind the Dodgers, of course, Orioles, Guardians, Yankees. Division leaders in the East, it's back and forth with the Orioles and the Yankees right now. You got the Red Sox, Rays, and the Blue Jays behind. Central, the Guardians are in first place in their division, followed by the Twins and then the Royals, Tigers, White Sox. The West kind of shifting around again. The Rangers are back in first place alongside the Mariners, the A's, the Angels, and the Astros are dead last still. Meanwhile, in the National League, the Braves were in first place in the NL East, but the Phillies have taken over that, followed by the Braves and the Mets, Nationals, and the Marlins. The NL Central, this one is back and forth with the Brewers and the Cubs going back and forth for first place, followed by the Pirates, then the Reds and the Cardinals. Speaking of the Pirates, all you LSU diehards out there, Paul Skeens is getting called up, and he will start on Saturday. So the Pittsburgh Pirates got a hell of a series this weekend coming up with the Chicago Cubs. Unfortunately, Saturday's game is not going to be on national television, but if you got ESPN Plus, you will be able to tune in. So I got it. I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch Paul Skeens get called up and play. And then finally in the NL West, the Dodgers still in first place in their division, followed by the Padres, Diamondbacks, Giants, and the Rockies. But jump to Major League Soccer real quick before we get to any other talk I'm gonna adapt into this show. We got a couple of soccer matches this weekend. I know the Houston Dynamo are on the road taking on Kansas City. They are out of the Open Cup after they lost their game. They tied in a draw last week. They fell. Actually, they drew again. They've lost to St. Louis. I've been having the worst luck watching this team. Me and my co-hosts from the World League podcast are going to be there next Saturday when they host FC Dallas. They better win. Because I don't want to have to go back-to-back years watching them at home lose like they did last year. So I'm hoping they can pull this off. They go to Kansas City. I'm going to pick the Dynamo. I'm sticking with it. I think they can pull it off. Atlanta and DC United. Don't know much about these teams, but I'm going to have to go with DC United winning that one. CF Montreal and Miami. I think we know who's going to win this one. Come on. Lionel Messi, the greatest soccer player in the world right now. Give me Miami on the road over Montreal. Charlotte and Nashville. Don't look like it's going to be a good game, but give me Charlotte at home. Red Bulls and the Revolution. So give me the Revolution on the road over the Red Bulls. Philadelphia and Orlando. Give me Orlando on the road. Toronto and NYCFC. Give me NYCFC on the road. Columbus and Cincinnati, in-state rivalry. Columbus wins at home. FC Dallas and Austin. I'm going to pick FC Dallas. They're at home. I don't think Austin's that good of a team. I don't get how they beat us. St. Louis and Chicago, possibly a rivalry like they are in hockey, but give me St. Louis at home over Chicago. Colorado and San Jose. I'm going to go with Colorado at home. LA Galaxy and Salt Lake. Salt Lake on the road. LAFC and Vancouver, give me LAFC at home. And then finally, Portland and Seattle. That could be my toilet bowl of the week with MLS. Give me Portland at home. All right. I'm going to start. I'm going to adapt. I know I adapted arena football on this show since week 1 started a couple of weeks ago. But let me tell you something about the AFL, folks. It's not going anywhere. It is so fucking bad when I say this. Let's start with this team, for example. Louisiana Voodoo, which sadly the week before their first game, they moved out of Lake Charles and Lafayette, which kind of was a good thing now, you could say. They were lucky enough to play their inaugural game of the season. They beat the crap out of the Philadelphia Soul, or if you want to call them the Dallas Falcons, the team that filled in for the Soul. This league has been a complete shit show, all because of one man, Lee Hutton. Where in the hell is this douchebag at? That's killing this league. Since this league started, not one player or coach on all 16 of these teams have gotten paid. He's hiding. He's scamming everybody. He's ripping everybody off. Fuck this guy. I hope they find him and arrest him and find somebody that can actually make the AFL better again, because it's been a complete shit show dumpster fire. Games that were guaranteed to be on the NFL Network but were taken off the network. Supposed to be on Vire Network. A couple of games were on this network, and then some were taken off again. As of right now, 3 teams have folded. The Iowa Rampage, the Georgia Force, and now the Philadelphia Soul have all folded. I'm shocked the Voodoo didn't fold yet. But Coach James Shiver has hope that we're going to get this team back rolling with the bullshit Lee Hutton's doing right now. I don't even know what's in store for this week, because I'm just done with the AFL until Lee Hutton's out of here, or if they just decide to fold the whole league. We were scheduled to have we had 2 games canceled. We were supposed to play at home last Saturday against the Georgia Force. Game was canceled. Tonight, we were supposed to host the Orlando Predators on the NFL Network. That game got canceled too. Next week, we're supposed to go to Washington and play the Wolfpack. I guarantee you that's going to get canceled too. And then the following weekend, we were going to host the Desert Hawks on Memorial Day weekend. That will probably get canceled too because of Lee Hutton. So I am taking the AFL completely out of this talk of this show, but we will still talk arena football, because why didn't I think of this in the first place? There is another league going on that is very successful. It's been going on since 2008. The IFL, or known as the Indoor Football League, that features 16 teams from around the country, including a few AFL originals. So I'm looking at the list here. I know a couple of original teams. I know for sure they got the Iowa Barnstormers, the Jacksonville Sharks, that's probably the only ones. The Arizona Rattlers was another team. That was an original AFL team. And then you got like all these other teams around, like the Frisco Fighters, the Massachusetts Pirates, the Green Bay Blizzard, Tulsa Oilers, the Sioux Falls Storm, Quad City Steamwheelers, which Quad City's in Moline, Illinois. We got the Vegas Nighthawks, which might be the youngest team that was created. By the way, that's a team I'm supporting. The owner of the Vegas Nighthawks is the same guy who owns my hockey team, the Vegas Golden Knights. There was a team in San Jose, the San Jose SaberCats, but they recreated their team. Now they're called the Bay Area Panthers. We also got 3 teams in Arizona. I said the Arizona Rattlers, plus we got the Northern Arizona Wranglers and the Tucson Sugar Skulls. The San Antonio Gunslingers, which I'm going to say straight up, the ugliest uniforms I've ever seen in that league. And then finally, we have the Gladiators of Duke City, which is in New Mexico. So 8 teams in the East, 8 teams in the West. They started their season back in the middle of March. They play 19 weeks of the regular season. Each team gets 2 bye weeks. And they play the championship. They'll have like a couple weeks of the playoffs, and they do the championship week on my birthday weekend. So that's your teams right there as of now. And last I looked, let's talk about the Eastern Conference first. It's a back and forth tie between the Fighters and the Pirates. Both teams are 5-1. Tie at first place. Blizzard at 4-2. The Oilers are 3-3. The Steamwheelers are 2-4. Sharks, Barnstormers, and the Storm are tied at last place at 1-5. Meanwhile, in the Western Conference, the Vegas Nighthawks, the only team in the IFL to be undefeated right now, they're 6-0. Panthers are 5-1. Wranglers and the Strike Force are tied at third place at 4-2. Rattlers are 3-3. Gunslingers 2-4. The Sugar Skulls 1-4, and the Gladiators last place in the conference and overall in the league. They're the only winless team at 0-5. Last week, week 8, it was so. There's 19 weeks. I wish I had started this back at week 1, but good news is they got 19 weeks of this season. We're damn near at the halfway mark, so we're going to start this at week 9. But from here on out, especially next year when the season starts again, we'll be back from week 1. So last week, let's look at some recaps. They played 6 games last week, and you can watch all the IFL games on YouTube, by the way. If you subscribe and follow the IFL on YouTube, you can watch all the games for free. There will be 2 games tomorrow night I'll get to, but there were 6 games last week. The Jacksonville Sharks got their first win of the season after they upsetted the Tulsa Oilers 47-44. The Storm wins 46-38 over the Blizzard. The Fighters win over the Gunslingers 62-57. That was a high score fest there. Barnstormers beat the Steamwheelers 55-33. Vegas remains undefeated as they beat the Panthers 62-43, and the Wranglers take down the Strikeforce 54-45. So I'm going to go ahead for the first time on this show. I'm going to make my picks for the IFL. We're going to replace the AFL with this. There will be 2 games on Friday. It starts with Quad City. The Steamwheelers going on the road to South Dakota to take on the Sioux Falls Storm. I know I said it should be an interesting game to watch. Sioux Falls, though, not a good team. They're 1-5. Steamwheelers are 2-5, but it seems like an even matchup. But I'm going to take the Storm at home over the Steamwheelers. The one I'm looking forward to, Vegas back at home. By the way, the only team to have black artificial turf on their field. Beautiful turf. I love it. They're hosting the San Diego Strikeforce. Don't count the Strikeforce out. They're 4-2. It's going to be a good game, but I think Vegas remains undefeated. I'm sticking with the Nighthawks. I've secretly been following this team, and then I am virtually letting you guys know now. I do have a team in the IFL I've been following, and I'm going to keep following them. This is only their 3rd season. And this is the first time ever they're having a great season. First time in history they're undefeated, and they're looking to remain undefeated, looking to go 7-0. So I got the Nighthawks winning over the Strikeforce. The Jacksonville Sharks on the road against the Frisco Fighters. I know Jacksonville got their first win last week and a close one with the Oilers, but can lightning strike twice? I don't know. It is on the road. Frisco's tough at home, but give me the Frisco at home. Sorry, Jacksonville. Tulsa Oilers at the Green Bay Blizzard. I'm looking forward to watching this one. This will be a good game, but give me the Oilers on the road over the Blizzard. Pirates at the Barnstormers. We all know how good Iowa can be at home, but the Pirates are a hell of a team as well. So I got the Pirates winning on the road as well against the Barnstormers. Then we got Gunslingers at the Gladiators. San Antonio at Duke City. San Antonio is not that great, and I want to see an upset here. I want to see them try and get a win just like the Sharks did last week. So if this was this is my toilet bowl game of the week plus my upset of the week. I got Duke City getting their first win of the season at home against the Gunslingers. Then we got the Panthers on the road against the Wranglers. Give me the Panthers. They're a good team easily. And then finally, I guess you could consider them a rivalry despite record-wise, but this looks like it's going to be a hell of a game, so I might call this my game of the week. The Arizona Rattlers on the road against the Tucson Sugar Skulls, but I'm going to pick the Rattlers on the road. Give me Arizona to win that one. So that was fun talking about the IFL for the first time. Spoiler alert, I'm bringing Dylan on next week for SAT Sports, where we're going to recap Vegas's win, and we're going to recap that week, and we're going to do more IFL predictions and maybe talk a little more IFL, what we like about it, especially their success. I haven't talked to NASCAR in 2 weeks, but I did update the stat sheet. I know they had they had a race last week. It was a big one. They got another one coming up this week. So after Talladega, they had Dover, which Denny Hamlin won that race. Runner-up was Kyle Larson. 3rd place was Michael Truex Jr. But stage 1 winner, and it's funny how those are the 3 guys. That was your final 3, but all 3 of them each won a stage. Martin Truex won stage 1. Kyle Larson won stage 2. And Denny Hamlin took the win there. And then this past weekend, Kansas City, they had the Advent Health 400 in Kansas City. Kyle Larson ended up winning this race with Chris Bushner coming in. It's runner-up. 3rd place was Chase Elliott. But stage winners, Danny Hamlin took stage 1. Chris Buescher took stage 2. And coming up, we got another big race. We got Darlington. So shout out to Darlington, North Carolina. You got the Goodyear 400 this Sunday on Mother's Day, by the way. let's see if Hendricks can at least get a win, especially if William Byron can get another win, because I've been repping Hendricks Motorsports with that one. Let's see what else we can get. I want to throw this in real quick. This is going to be another sport I'm going to adopt into the show, but I'm only going to do it for recaps and predictions only. But I'm going to bring in the WNBA. I'm going to give it a chance because of 4 women: Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Camila Cardoza, and Cameron Brink. I know they've done preseason. They did their first preseason game last week, which you got to watch Caitlin Clark play on national television. If you wanted to watch like Angel Reese and Cardoza, you had to go on the WNBA app to watch them, but you still got to watch it for free. They got one more week of preseason before opening day, which is going to be on Tuesday, May 14th, but there will only be 2 games out of the 6 nationally televised. You could take a guess on the first one. Yes, Caitlin Clark's first official debut of the regular season. The Fever go on the road against the Connecticut Sun. The second nationally televised game, the defending champs, the Las Vegas Aces, taking on the Phoenix Mercury. Both games will be televised on ESPN2. If I had to make some predictions for these, of course, Caitlin Clark's going to win her debut. I got the Fever over the Sun. Mercury and Aces, I'm going to go with the defending champs. Aces win at home. New York Liberty, DC Mystics, I'm going to go with the Liberty. Minnesota Lynx versus the Seattle Storm, I'm going to take the Lynx on the road. And then 2 games on Wednesday, the Chicago Sky. So Cardoza and Reese's debut in the regular season, they go to Dallas to take on the Wings. I'm going to pick the Sky to win that one. Mark your calendars, June 1st, Sky and the Fever play finally. We're going to see them play on the regular stage. And then you got the Atlanta Dream taking on the LA Sparks. I'm going to go with the Sparks on this one just because it's Cameron Brink here. Now, the UFL, I haven't really been keeping up with the UFL lately because, first of all, my team sucks ass. I'm telling you, sucks ass. Yeah, they did get their first win week 4. That's probably the only win they're going to have. So we're going to do, there's a thing I like to do called the UFL by the numbers, where I post the numbers, which we're going to do 2 editions of that. So real quick, I want to do a recap of week 5, how that turned about 2 weeks ago. Brahmas beat the Renegades 25-15. Stallions beat the Roughnecks 32-9. Battlehawks beat the Defenders 45-12. And the Panthers beat the Showboats 35-18. So we're going to start our first half of UFL by the numbers, and we're going to start with week 5 so we can catch up because we're already in week 7. And I'm kind of ready for this shit to end, by the way, so I can enjoy more of the IFL. So here's week 5 by the numbers. You go by records real quick. The Stallions still the predicting to win it all. They're 5-0. Battlehawks and the Brahmas are 4-1. Michigan and DC 2-3. Roughnecks and the Showboats 1-4, and the Renegades are still winless 0-5. So here are the numbers for week 5. Speaking of week 5, we start with number 5 as Michigan ran for a season-high 5 touchdown on the ground in their 35-18 win over Memphis. The star running back duo of Wes Hills and Matthew Colborn combined for 150 yards and 4 rushing scores. Your next number is 11, which is the number of games Birmingham has now won dating back to last spring of the USFL. They won their game, I said 32-9 over the Roughnecks, and now they're 5-0, still undefeated. Our next number, it's actually going to be a set of numbers, 25-0. 25-0 is the ratio of which the Battlehawks outscored the Defenders in the fourth quarter of Sunday's win, blowing open a game that was within 1 score late in regulation to secure that 45-12 win. Your next number is 100. Once again, 100% of week 5 was the first time this season that all 4 road teams secured wins the same weekend. So it's the only time that's ever happened. Your next number, 138. Stallions quarterback Adrian Martinez made his second start of the season and threw for 138 rushing yards on just 9 carries, and he now leads in the league in rushing. Your next number, 179, is the number of yards Brahma's running back John Levitt and Morgan Ellison combined for their 25-15 win over the Renegades. And finally, 180, the former Iowa State Cyclone All-American receiver Hakeem Butler had a monster day against the Battlehawks continued to set the pace for the league. He had 6 catches for 147 yards and 2 touchdowns on the day, and he now is the UFL's leading receiver heading into week 6. So let's get to week 6 by the numbers for the USFL before I go ahead and make some predictions for week 7. So I'll get that up. Your week 6 record recap. Stallions beat the Showboats 39-21, so the Stallions are still undefeated. Battlehawks humiliated the Roughnecks 22-8. This looked like it was a hell of a game. Panthers beat the Renegades 28-27. Renegades was this close getting that first win. And great game between the Defenders and the Brahmas. Defenders win 18-12. So records again. Stallions still undefeated. You know they're going to win 3 in a row. Battlehawks 5-1, Panthers 4-2. So is the Brahmas. Defenders 3-3, Roughnecks 1-5, Renegades still 0-6. So here are the numbers you need to know after week 6. Your first number is 13. With their win over the Showboats, the Birmingham Stallions not only clinched the playoff spot, but they have now won 13 straight games dating back to last spring. And the Stallions are 1 win away of going a full calendar year without a loss. So that could be another big number we could see in week 7. Your next number is 60, which was another bomb for Michigan's kicker, Bates, as he hit another 60-yarder this weekend. Your next number is 77, the number of minutes that the Battlehawks defense went without allowing a single point over week 5 and 6. Next up, 101, the Defenders gave their playoff hopes a major boost with their 18-12 win over the Brahmas. And wide receiver Kelvin Harmon led the way with 101 yards on 8 catches, including the game-winning touchdown, which is over 5 minutes left in regulation. Your next number, 134. A week after putting up 147 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns, Hakeem Butler again put up another monster game with 6 catches for 134 yards and 2 touchdowns in their win over the Roughnecks. Your next number is 153. Running back John Lovett of the San Antonio Brahmas is the league rusher with a total of 348 yards after breaking out with 95 yards and 2 touchdowns in week 5. But this week he had a 153-yard performance in week 6. Your final number, 393. Stallions quarterback Adrian Martinez had 393 total yards and 4 touchdowns in their win over the Memphis Showboats. So right now, the Stallions are averaging 34.7 points per game, with Martinez getting the nod at quarterback. The former Nebraska Cornhusker and Kansas State Wildcat signal caller is making his case for the MVP right now. Also, Martinez has thrown for 300 yards twice and ran for 100 yards in the other game. This dude could be like the Patrick Mahomes of the UFL. That's a name you're going to be hearing a lot. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. We're going to go ahead and make our predictions for the UFL, and then I'm going to call it a night. So Saturday, we got the Memphis Showboats on the road against the Arlington Renegades. I feel like this could be their last chance, because looking at the remaining schedule for the Renegades, that's not good. They go to San Antonio week 8. They host the Battlehawks week 9. And then week 10, they close out at DC. That's 3 losses right there. Calling that early. If they cannot beat this team, they might go 0-10. But you know what? I'm okay with that, because I'm going to pick the Memphis Showboats getting their second win of the season. This is our game of the week. The St. Louis Battlehawks taking on the Birmingham Stallions. And it possibly won't be the last time we see it, because that could be the UFL championship down the road. So I think I don't think they've ever played each other yet this season. As I'm looking, it never happened. So holy shit. This would be a game I would love to watch. Battlehawks and the Stallions. If there's any team that could give the Stallions their first loss at home in franchise history, it could be the Battlehawks. I want to see it happen. The Stallions will possibly win. They're probably a heavy favorite to win, but I'm going to stick with St. Louis. I'm going with the Battlehawks. I hope they pull it off. But if they don't, I wouldn't be surprised. On Sunday, we got the Michigan Panthers taking on the DC Defenders. DC hasn't been as tough at home as they've been the last couple seasons. Plus, I love Michigan's story with their kicker. Give me the Panthers on the road against the Defenders. And then finally, the San Antonio Brahmas at the Houston Roughnecks. This team sucks. I'm done with this team for the rest of the season until they get some changes made. I have them losing. I got the Brahmas beating the Roughnecks. These guys would play better, play like they did in 2020. Well, that will wrap up tonight's edition of SAT Sports. By the way, tomorrow will make 1 full year of this show. It was a year ago tomorrow on May 10th. I did my debut episode of SAT Sports where I recapped the 2023 NFL Draft. Brought a couple of guesses on. We had fun. It's been a hell of a year. There are some episodes I've had canceled. I had the privilege of talking to many different guests from around the world, from the UK to freaking Puerto Rico and all of them. It was nice having guys, especially, of course, in the United States and even close to home. I've made some new friends I've brought onto this show. I'm hoping to try and make more memories with this show as I'm going into my second year of SAT Sports. So, but I do want to give a big thank you to my co-host of the Worldly Podcast, Dylan, for making the new logo. It's time for a change, the new intro video, the overlays, all that good shit. He's did all my thumbnails throughout the year. I did the titles. He did the thumbnails for me. I give him players or athletes I want or props or whatever, and he does them. I come up with the titles. He comes up with the illustrations of the overlays. So big thank you to Dylan from the Worldly Podcast who's made this show successful. He's been on a couple of times. He was on for the draft recap. He's coming back on next week where we talk a lot of IFL. And big thank you to everyone who made it supported. I did have a sponsor for this show that I don't really brag about. W Energy was the only sponsor I've had for this show. I don't really bring it up no more because W Energy got me sick. So maybe down the road I could get a new sponsor and I can advertise it a lot. But big thank you to W Energy being the first sponsor of SAT Sports on my first year. So I'm ready for year 2. I'm going to still do weekly shows. Also, last but not least, I can't forget the other MVP of this. I brought in a co-host in Freddie halfway through after 6 months where I started going weekly. I want to go weekly instead of just so often. The show actually started off as Saints, Astros, Tigers sports, but after some issues, I wanted to talk not just the Saints, the Astros, and LSU. I wanted to talk all sports, so I just renamed it somehow Always Talking Sports. I wanted to keep the name SAT. So now I'm talking about everything, and I got a guy do it with me. He hasn't been on in 2 months. I know he had a baby. He's willing to make his comeback, but Freddie, whenever you're ready, man, I just reached a year with this show. I'm ready to go with year 2, and I'm taking you with me, and I'm taking everybody else that's been on this train. So big thank you to everyone that made year 1 very fun. It was stressful, but it was a hell of a year, my debut year, and I can't wait to see what year 2 has for SAT Sports. But you can see right below you my handle on Twitter. You can follow me at MarcusLee337. SAT Sports did have a Twitter page at SAT Sports 89. I'm still deciding if I want to create a new Twitter account for the show. It's just a lot of stress and a lot of work to get done to try and get all them followers back. But if I could try and get the Twitter page back, I'll keep it rolling and use that to advertise and promote the show. But until then, you can follow me, subscribe to me on YouTube to watch SAT Sports anytime on demand. I will do another show again next week. I'm going to have Dylan on again. We're going to talk with the IFL a lot and a bunch of other shit. But thank y'all for tuning in. It's 1 year anniversary for me. I'm ready to go on 2. Thank y'all. Y'all have a good night.